Divine brothers and sisters, Geeia Ariati. We are doing another self-reflection in form of education. So for each and every one of you that is tuning into this, I'd love for you to reflect and see with the question as you're receiving this message, where do I reject consciousness? If you haven't received one of my videos before, I'm Geeia Ariati. I'm of Sound Heart and Sound Mind. I am the founder and the co-creator of the DAC process and the master teacher at the Purity of Isis Mystery School. I teach individuals to reconcile the trauma of the fragmented mind or the separate mind and bring in sound mind or the infinite consciousness of our innate being and our authentic soul self. Now, today I'm sharing specifically around a very specific topic. And when I remember hearing this, it was quite interesting for me. I was quite young, hearing the concept of any publicity is good publicity. Now, for me, I've definitely been an individual that has rejected the bad publicity and the aspects of psychic attack or the multiple agendas I've had against me in my life experience, saying that I am this or I am that, making stories up about me. I was a child when I was younger that I was teased a lot, and there was a lot of rumors about me, and I grew up, I guess, with a false interpretation and vision of who I was. And I knew who I was as an authentic expression. And people were like, don't worry, people are just jealous. They're making up stories because of jealousy. Now, that's not the actual truth. And when we say stuff like that, we are disarming the fact that people are malicious and people are nasty and people will intentionally try and discredit you as a human being and hurt your feelings so that they feel better about themselves. And the statement that is more simple to understand is hurt people hurt people. Lower vibrational consciousness is cruel, unkind, and mean. And the aspect around that is that I've been at the effect of a lot of low vibrational consciousness throughout my experience and have experienced much trauma from this in the recognition and the realization of who I be. And so one of the things that has just really landed in a more solidified state for me at a higher lens of interpretation, even more than what it has ever before, in a very quantum expression, is that I remember very early in my journey hearing spirit speak in the form of, you have to receive it all to have it all. So there is not one area of consciousness that you can deny, reject, or say is wrong to be in the lens of God Source Creator or through the eyes of truth. You must witness all layers of consciousness to be able to receive all of yourself. And so I went on a big journey of discovering myself through my subconscious mind and through my shadow aspects, the disconnected and fragmented parts of my soul. I went through the karmic history and the reincarnation cycles, as well as working in all layers of my psyche to reconcile my mind and bring it into a whole, complete expression of truth so I could live in pure presence beyond the human suffering. And transcendence was my goal. Transcendence was always the word. I'm going to transcend. I will transcend. This is where I'm going. Now, of course, that was coming from ego at the time. I had a very strong ego that had a very strong personality and a very strong soul blueprint that allowed for me to use the Taurian nature that I was born with, and the different aspects of my masculine protection mechanisms to use my ego construct as a friend that very much used disciplinary action to get me to the point of transcendence. So I used discipline and punishment to get me to a point of surrender and ease. And it sounds ridiculous to someone to go, well, that sounds crazy. How can you surrender through punishment? But when I wanted to give up, when I had lost hope, when there was these aspects of self that were showing up, I would use those parts of my personality that I knew who I was in my fragmented expression. I knew who I was when it came to the point of interpretation in regards to a uh, mutated mind. I knew my trauma. I knew how my trauma affected me. I knew everything about what I had created as an outside expression. I didn't know what the inside was. So I used the outside that I'd mastered through understanding my psychological protection traits and those aspects of self that I allowed people to see and what I didn't allow people to see, to reverse engineer my psyche. Now, through that development became a beautiful, beautiful framework that reconciles the trauma of the fragmented mind and deconditions or integrates the ego so that you can transcend and purify each chakra system into that transcended state, which is beautiful because reverse engineering is a very powerful way to work with consciousness. But when I was going through this process, having to receive it all, to have it all, well, that meant that I would have to receive all possibilities as well. I would have to receive the fact that I may or may not be this. I had to receive the fact that I could possibly have demonic influences, that I must be a liar. I could have to come to the acceptance of receiving that I was delusional or insane. And all of these concepts that I was afraid of, all of these concepts that humanity runs from, I faced and allowed them to show me the truth on the other side. And so, what has unfolded for me in regards to sharing this message with you today was I have responded in a source guided way that seemed very confusing for me. Now, source guidance isn't always going to be the most easeful and graceful. It depends if you've heard or seen the message. Sometimes you will see through ease and grace. Sometimes you will see through the contrast of the experience. Sometimes those peripherals, because there is so much to be aware of, you won't always see everything that is there that is showing up. And so contrast brings it right into the forefront. When you learn through contrast, you get an activation, you get an energy, you get a triggered response in your physical body, in your nervous system, in your heart, where there is something there to be witnessed and brought into awareness. Now, for me, this was what we could call bad publicity. Now, it wasn't very specifically around my work because I know my work. I know how my work is proven. I know what I've created in spaces for people to find their own source connection, their own guide, their own healer, to live on purpose. I know my purpose on this planet. And so it's not around work specifically in regards to the bad publicity. Anyone could say anything about me in regards to this, and there would be no response because of the clarity I've come to with it and the proven results. However, when it comes to that of the interpretation of me as a mother, as a parent, there is still a sting. Now, I'm working on the full reconciliation of that. After working through many, many different layers, there is an aspect there around owning the power as a mother that I am and what I chose to be the best parent that I could possibly be, that breaks down paradigms and structures of this reality. Now, the parent was being attacked. The mother archetype that I am was being publicly scrutinized, scandalized, and destroyed by beings that are not telling the truth, that are twisting the truth, and that are psychically attacking, as well as demonic energies that are sitting within their consciousness. Now, for me, I've never played into it. I never publicly respond, right? I never defend myself. I never express or play into that dynamic because it's not the guided truth and has never been the guided truth. I just allow it to be, and I see it for what it is, and it's okay. However, today I was guided to respond, and I was guided to respond in a way that was quite uncomfortable, in a way of calling out the truth of how I see this individual being and the truth of how I see exactly what's going on, and that I'm not afraid, and that I will stand up for myself. And there was an engagement in the behavior. Now, as I'm sitting there afterwards going, Source, I don't understand. Why was this guided? Really? What is the truth? The truth that evolves through that guided response was because I was unwilling to see the truth before I responded in that way. Now, the truth that was guided by Source to respond in that way was the truth. I didn't say anything out of truth. I didn't say anything that was a lie, a twist, or anything that was egoic. I simply spoke the truth, and it was perhaps a more confronting truth than I would normally express. Normally, I take the high road. And in this expression, what is there and what came forth was that I was not willing to receive their projections. That any time over the last 5 to 7 years that I have received this ganging up energy, this narcissistic abuse, this psychological manipulation, and the amount of energy, the amount of projection, the amount of lies, the amount of twists and distortion that took place. And I have had strong protection barriers. I have had strong aspects of holding myself in neutrality so not to receive any effect of this behavior. And I haven't, and I've mastered that. But what have I done? I've created a protection field to absolutely deflect and reject anything that came to me that was not truth. Now, is that what Source is? If Source is the I am of all things, flowing in unison and receptivity with everything, if I'm here to share a global movement to reconcile the suffering of the human psyche, I, as a public figure, require to receive the people that are in devotion to my mission, the people that are skeptical to my mission, the people that are in alignment to my mission, and the people that want to destroy me and hate on me. I also have to receive that amount of energy into the universe or the vibrational creation that has this movement in it. I need to be willing, as Geeia Ariati, that has her own universal dimensional reality, receive that energy. Because if I reject that energy, it actually takes more energy to hold protection fields and to hold aspects of resistance to maintain some level of purity, because there's an expression of wrongness. There is an expression of, this is not okay in my reality. This is not what I bring into my vibrational vortex. This is not what Source has for me. Now, that's not the truth. That's a lens of truth as we learn to understand ourselves through the different perspectives of consciousness unfolding upon itself. But the truth is that until you can receive all expressions of consciousness, you are not in full vibrational alignment with the I am. Because that expression is not wrong. It's just a vibrational interpretation of human psyche. That ego, that psychic attack, that all that is a frequency of energy. Now imagine if you or I or anyone can master this. Master the level of bringing in or allowing that in your universe at no resistance. No resistance to the agenda, but allow the agenda to feed your universal creation. Thank you for the energy. I will gift this to humanity to help them to set themselves free. Imagine if you can weave with that much vibrational frequency, that you resist nothing and that you cultivate and create with everything. Now, excuse me. If you can allow yourself to receive everything, to have everything, then you have created a master field of consciousness. Because there is nothing that comes in or that can leave that is not in Source attunement. So you allow yourself to become that in trust of source, that anything that comes in is naturally alchemized. There is nothing to protect yourself from. And that you can receive that, transmute it, and receive it in a new form and create it and expand your universal reality. Because that is energy. That is what it is. Bad publicity or narcissistic focused attention. Now we can use this because this one has been an old earth paradigm of the empath and the narcissist. Now I know the empath very well. Sometimes I think I created that archetype. But this interpretation of the empath and the narcissist, the old story is for an empath to be free, you cold wall, you cold stone, can't remember the terminology, of the narcissist. The only way to be free of a narcissist is to completely silence yourself and completely have no contact. Now, that is not the truth. The truth is that a narcissist still feeds off you, whether you partake in their reality or not, because you and your energy field is what manifests their charge. So whether or not you engage, they are still feeding off of your expression through their stories, through their gossip, through their mafia mentality, that they are still syncing and synergizing to you. Now you have an option to choose to actually take all of that energy and use it to drive your purpose, to align your soul, to create with, to give you some sense of intentional direction. Or you can reject it, knowing that they are still feeding off your being. They are still feeding off your consciousness, because there's a level of you rejecting that in the reality. And the truth is that narcissist will feed off you as the center of their attention for as long as you are the focus point. It doesn't matter if you partake in their reality or not, because they've decided that you are their focus. Whatever the mind focuses on feeds the mind's illusion. If the mind focuses on that point on the wall, that feeds my mind the illusion of what is that? I can put all of my attention and energy on that wall. Now, whether or not the wall responds to my attention is a completely different story. So with that, whatever you focus your mind on is what you create. Now, this is where your magic and your power is. If you allow yourself to focus so in alignment with your soul's purpose, your soul's directive, your authenticity, your integrity, your truth, then that is what is created. If we look at this in the new earth paradigm, we have so many beings that are focusing on bringing in the new earth and creating the new earth. We are creators in the new earth. In the new earth, we don't need to remember, we've remembered. In the new earth, we don't need to reconcile karma, because there is no karma. In the new earth, we get to choose from unity, from power, from growth, from new structures, because there's no old paradigms to create from. If you sit in the new earth, you have a blank slate. If you're functioning from the old earth paradigm, then you still need to reconcile so that you can arrive in the new earth energy. But all that is focused intention of consciousness. If your consciousness is focusing on the old earth, then you're going to find that you have to go through old past lives, you have to go through karma, you have to go through these different paradigms to experience yourself, to come to the arrival of your new earth self. But what if you just chose your new earth self? What if you just chose to arrive? What if you just chose to be the I am that you already are? You don't have to remember then. You don't need to go through healing. You don't need to look at history. History in the old earth was only there to help you remind yourself and guide you into the truth of who you are. But we are moving into a new paradigm of reality. And that new paradigm, if you're creating from that new level of expression, requires us to recognize that we reject nothing and we receive everything. That we have no stories about consciousness and therefore we're not at the effect of them. We have no wounds, therefore we cannot be hurt. We have no pain that we do not create through our own mental constructs. No one can hurt you, you only hurt yourself. The suffering you experience is based on the paradigms of thinking that you still hold and you are unable to release through the attachment to them. If you allow yourself to release the attachments or recognize that anything that is in your vibrational vortex that you are creating, then you are able to use that vibrational vortex to create what you truly desire. So yes, all publicity is good publicity if you choose to use the focus lens on that. And so what I've decided to do, in the recognition that I have multiple narcissistic personalities and different sociopaths and pedophiles in my vibrational vortex, that no matter how hard I try to run away from them, to leave, to get rid of them, or to deny or sit in neutrality, they do not disappear. They are still living. They still have breath. And so what I would like to do instead is to receive their contributions. And I'm going to use their contributions every single time that I receive their bad publicity. I'm going to use it to create freedom and sovereignty for humanity. I'm going to use it to create an intensity of vibrational frequency that allows for the Geeia Ariati reality and the universe to meet those souls that are in resonance, to survival in a new way, where we thrive and we don't need to survive. We actually live in awareness and unity, where we allow ourselves to step out of the human condition and create from sovereignty and truth. And by doing this, this is where we up-level our truth in the form of a new perspective of consciousness. No longer do we have to hold these ideas that we have to reject someone. They're not in resonance. You're just choosing to create something different. You don't have to reject anyone's thoughts, anyone's feelings, anyone's experience. Let them create what they're creating to see themselves. And you create what you're desiring to create for your reality, for your purpose, for your human experience. And that doesn't mean that you can't create different universal realities in the same vibrational vortex, because really we're one. So what you're experiencing from your lens of perspective, you might be right across from this screen and your reality looks completely different to mine. My partner's reality might look completely different to mine, because we all choose the universal expression and the environment that we're living from. So if you receive anything from this, my beautiful beloved soul family, Divine Light 144 and beyond, receive that your resistance and reaction to someone not being in vibrational truth to you is actually where you're still not aligning your truth to the I am that you already are. Where is it that you resist experiencing yourself? Now, for me, it was allowing myself to see myself that I'm that powerful. I can receive demonic energies and alchemize them into source. It takes no time at all, no conscious thought when you align your focus and intention. I can receive narcissistic responses and all that I consider to be 1 and 2 dimensional planes of expression that are unworthy of being in the 3-dimensional realm of existence, because you have to have evolved to come here. However, that's another story that you might find on my channel if you would like to interpret that a little deeper. But from this 3-dimensional reality, we get to choose. They say that to come here, you have to have evolved to the highest point of consciousness, to have graduated enough to come to human school or human experiencing. So what does that mean? It means that somewhere in your experience of consciousness, you have evolved to a higher enough expression of reality that you can easily transcend the three-dimensional human condition. All you have to do is remember the truth of who you are and what you've always been. I love you, beautiful souls. I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like to receive any more training in Mystery School or in the form of our community, we have a community that supports leaders and those that have embodied the Bring the New Earth energies. And we have weekly training sessions where we go through different ways to cultivate your quantum tools and your healing capacities, abilities. We also have connection and community in the form of aligning to vibrational souls that are choosing a similar creation experience. And there is a lot of transmissions there for healing not only your individuality, but the earth itself and the collective. I love you, I love you, I love you. Until next time. Oh yeah, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed this.